Welcome to the May 8th, 2023 Eugene City Council meeting. And so I invite everyone in the audience to quiet down your conversations and please join us. Quiet down. We're starting a meeting and it's hard to have a meeting if there's a lot of conversation in the back. Thank you. That's great. Thank you all for joining us in this hybrid meeting format. Anyone wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by following the access instructions listed for this meeting on the city's public webcast and meeting materials webpage. Tonight's meeting will include a public forum. If you wish to speak during the public forum and have not already done so, please fill out a request to speak form available on our public webcast and meeting materials webpage. For those of you who are here in person, printed forms are available at the entrance to the room. We'll accept request to speak forms until 7:35. These request to speak forms will be used to generate the random order of speakers and correctly enter speakers' names into the public record. For those joining the meeting by phone who wish to provide testimony and are unable to complete the request to speak form online, press *9 when the form is announced, and the last 3 digits of your phone number will be added to the speaker's queue. And as a reminder, we do not allow people to have any flags or signs. We want you not to express any loud or disruptive language, make noises, anything that makes it hard for us to conduct business in a safe and respectful way. And so we ask for you to please be quiet for all of the speakers and remind you that you can always show your support with a silent wave of your fingers. And then I think we see a few people in masks. If you're not feeling well, we ask you either not to join us and stay home and Zoom in. And please feel free to wear a mask if you feel more comfortable doing that. And with that, we'll begin the meeting with a formal land acknowledgement. Since time immemorial, the Kalapuya people have been the indigenous stewards to our region, building dynamic communities, maintaining balance with wildlife, and enacting sustainable land practices. Today's land acknowledgement is a way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and of honoring Native communities by inviting truth and reconciliation. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. As we consider the impacts of colonization, we also acknowledge the strength and resiliency of displaced indigenous people. The city of Eugene is built within the traditional homelands known as Kalapuya Ilihi. Kalapuya descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians of Oregon. They continue to make contributions in our communities here and across the lands. We express our respect for the inherent political sovereignty of all federally recognized tribal nations and indigenous people who live in the state of Oregon and across the nation. And now I have a few more ceremonial matters to open this meeting. We have 4 proclamations. May is an important month for a lot of communities within our community, and so we'll just take a few minutes to hear those. Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas May is a time to raise awareness of those living with mental or behavioral health issues and to help reduce the stigma that so many experience, including children, adults, families, and communities across the globe. World Mental Health Month celebrates awareness for the global community in an empathetic way, with a unifying voice, helping those affected to feel hopeful by empowering them to take action and to create lasting change. And whereas since 1949, Mental Health America, its affiliates, and countless others have observed May as Mental Health Awareness Month by reaching out to millions of people to spread the word that mental health is something everyone should care about. The 2023 theme calls for individuals to take some time to look around, look within, on topics such as safe and stable housing, healthy home environments, neighborhoods and towns, and the outdoors and nature. And whereas even before the COVID-19 pandemic, millions of Americans were experiencing stress, trauma, anxiety, and heightened levels of depression. The pandemic has magnified those conditions, creating an unprecedented mental health crisis across the United States. Fewer than half of Americans who struggle with mental illness receive the treatment they need. Many Americans feel ashamed to reach out for help or are stigmatized for seeking care. And whereas each of us has an important role to play in supporting others who are living with mental health conditions, we can learn the warning signs, engage affected loved ones in a supportive dialogue, and fight the stigma and prejudice around seeking mental health support. Let us collectively ensure all adults and children experiencing mental health challenges are treated with compassion, respect, and understanding they deserve. And now, therefore, I, Lucy Venus, Mayor of the City of Eugene, Oregon, do hereby proclaim May 1, 2023 to be World Mental Health Awareness Month in Eugene, and encourage all community members to join in activities and take action to strengthen the mental and behavioral health of all our community members. And now my second proclamation, International Period Month. And I just have to make a quick comment about this, which this recognition of menstrual inequity has been a leading cause of our current reigning Miss Oregon, who made a presentation to my Youth Advisory Council just a couple of weeks ago on this topic and many others. So it's a kind of a homegrown but very important movement. Whereas menstrual inequity is a critical issue affecting the health, education, and economic opportunities of people who menstruate around the world, and whereas periods are still surrounded by stigma and misinformation, which can lead to discrimination, marginalization, and exclusion, and whereas the global community has recognized the need to break the silence and promote menstrual health and justice as a human rights issue, and whereas recognizing the month of May as International Period Month would help to raise awareness, challenge taboos, and promote menstrual freedom and justice. Now, therefore, I, Lucy Venus, Mayor of the City of Eugene, Oregon, do hereby recognize the month of May as International Period Month in Eugene and encourage all residents to support efforts to promote menstrual health and hygiene, reduce stigma and discrimination, and improve access to menstrual products and facilities. Our third proclamation is in recognition of International Workers' Day. Whereas the Federation of Organized Trade and Labor Unions of the United States and Canada organized a general strike for an 8-hour workday starting May 1st, 1886. A series of labor demonstrations in Chicago in support of the strike led to the violent Haymarket Affair on May 4th, 1886. In 1889, an International Organization for Workers in Paris declared May 1st as International Workers' Day to commemorate the struggle for the 8-hour workday, which is also commonly known as International Labor Day and May Day. Every year on May 1st, International Workers' Day seeks to honor laborers and the working classes in many countries throughout the world. And whereas throughout America's history, workers have sacrificed to grow our food, build our roads, transport our goods, provide care for our neighbors and families, and manufacture the products that many of us use. No worker should risk avoidable injury, illness, or even death while doing their job. Through decades of organizing, negotiating, picketing, and protesting, labor unions secured vital workplace protections that both union and non-union workers rely on today. And whereas we honor and remember those who lost their lives on the job and reaffirm every worker's basic right to a safe and healthy workplace, we recognize local labor unions that remain committed to safeguarding the health and safety of all workers. Now, therefore, I, Lucy Venus, Mayor of the City of Eugene, Oregon, do hereby proclaim May 1st, 2023 to be International Workers' Day in Eugene and encourage all community members to observe this day with appropriate service, community, and education programs and ceremonies in memory of those killed or injured due to unsafe working conditions. And finally, fourth proclamation, the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. Whereas in 2004, the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia was launched and commemorated as a global occasion to educate about lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender LGBT people, and to advocate for sensible public policies regarding LGBT people. And whereas May 17 was specifically chosen to commemorate the World Health Organization's decision in 1990 to declassify homosexuality as a mental disorder. The day serves as a worldwide celebration of sexual and gender diversities. And whereas the 2023 theme of International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia is Together Always, United in Diversity. When people unite in all our beautiful diversity, we can bring about change together. It is a time to celebrate all those who are fighting for a world where lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex people can live free from violence and discrimination. And whereas everyone is entitled to dignity and equality, no matter who they are, whom they love, or how they identify. It is important for us to clearly and consistently respond to human rights abuses of LGBTQ plus persons, including the acute challenges faced by queer women, transgender, and other gender diverse people, intersex people, and other particularly marginalized LGBTQ plus communities. Now, therefore, I, Lucy Venus, Mayor of the City of Eugene, Oregon, do hereby proclaim May 17, 2023 to be International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia in Eugene, and encourage all community members to continue engaging with allies and partners to advance the human rights of LGBTQ plus people here and in all corners of the world. Thank you all for respectfully listening to all of those very, very important and diverse proclamations. And with that, I can open the panel up to counselors who have committee reports or items of interest. Are there any counselors with something to share? Counselor Yeh.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to thank the U of O for partnering with the City of Eugene's Urban Forestry to plant a couple dozen redwoods along MLK Junior Boulevard. So if you are driving down, you will definitely notice the trees. They're, I don't know, 4-ish feet, 3 to 4 feet tall. And it was my understanding from staff that that was the last planting of the season. And I hope I get this number right, but I think she told me that we have planted 746 trees, which is up from 600 and some-ish the previous season. So those students were told that they have to come back in the future and see their trees that they got to name and themselves as they were planting them. So as you're driving along, take a look. They're pretty impressive.
Thank you very much. Any other counselors with comments?
Yes, thank you.
Counselor Leach.
I want to thank you for your proclamation on Mental Health Awareness Month. I also want to convey that in addition, it's Maternal Mental Health Awareness Month. And here in Lane County, 1 in 4 people who give birth will experience a mental health condition related to birth. And you recognize that the COVID-19 pandemic made all of our mental health considerably worse. And that was the case as well for families with young children. And so as a community, please wrap your arms and care around new parents. They need our support, and so that they can have that village to raise their children. I also want to just for a minute talk about we're in the middle of election season. We're almost to the finish line, and in that process, I've seen a lot of negative ads and attack ads, and I just want to say that we don't have a place for that here in our community. We really need people in our government and elected officials who can be civil and maintain positive discourse. And so I just want to say, if you're a part of that negativity, that I would appreciate it if we can just continue being positive to one another. So thank you.
Thank you very much. The issues we phase are challenging enough and takes a special effort to be respectful. Yeah, Counselor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to give a quick Human Services Commission update. On Friday, we met, reviewed the budget. Human Services Commission, the Poverty and Homeless Board are in the middle of a reimagining, thanks to the consultant work of Uncommon Solutions. So we look forward to more coming about how we could sharpen our pencil and share kind of a PHB HSC 2.0 reimagining, putting housing first and combating houselessness. I attended the NAACP Freedom Fund dinner alongside Councilors Groves and Leach on Friday night. Thank you for the opportunity to attend. And Mayor, thank you for the proclamations in regards to workers' memorials. It was an honor to deliver that to the AFL-CIO on behalf of the city, on your behalf. And thank you for the other critically important resolutions, especially the mental health awareness piece. May 21st is NAMI Walks Day. At 11 a.m. More information at NAMI, NAMIOR.org, NAMIOR.org. And finally, Mayor, if I have a few seconds, talk about the election first, and then something that's on my mind daily. 192 hours and 13 minutes to election day. Vote early and volunteer often. So election day is around the corner. If you haven't got your ballot in, please do so. You know where your drop boxes are. You can mail it in as I did. Don't even need a stamp to do so. But the number that's on my mind, Mayor, is 199. There have been 199 mass shootings in these United States in calendar year 2023. 199. Just let that sink in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that. I have just.
Mayor, I had a couple things.
Good. Alan didn't see you. Take it away, Councilor Zelenka.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I was going to comment on the 199 mass shootings. It's on the news every single day. It's kind of like the news is about shooting and death and destruction. And it's incredibly frustrating and sad. And yet we don't do anything about it. I also wanted to compliment the mayor on the 4 proclamations, all 4 important issues. And then on Saturday, Councilor Ye and I and a bunch of other citizen members of the Police Commission held our annual work planning retreat. And we did it on Saturday morning, and I had the massive amount of I don't want us going on a Saturday morning to a work planning retreat. But after about an hour, I was totally into it. It was great. We ended up with doing some excellent work and putting together our work plan for the next 2 years with input from EPD. And I think you'll find when this comes back to council in June that it's a very interesting and long list of items that we'll be working on over time over the next 2 years, because everything's now in a biennial cycle. And then finally, I wanted to recognize that on Sunday, the governor had all of the public institutions fly their flags at half-mast in recognition of fallen firefighters. And since it was on Sunday, probably people didn't notice, but I just wanted to bring people's attention to that particular notion of fallen firefighters and the dangerous work that they do to save our property and save us. And it's not gone without notice. And I thank them all very much for the work that they do on a daily basis. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much. And are there any other comments? I have just one quick one, even though I've done a lot of talking, which is that I had the pleasure of attending the public safety forum that was convened last Tuesday at Willamette High School. And this is a forum that is held for our Spanish-speaking population, Spanish-speaking community. They filled the auditorium, organized. A shout out to Beatriz Hernandez in our independent auditor's office. She does this outreach to the community, and it is opportunity for community groups to present information really around public safety and health. And so they have tabling. They had absolutely delicious tamales to eat, and then a panel discussion with the police chief, with the superintendent of the Bethel schools, with an immigration lawyer, with our staff member, equity, our housing navigator was there, and there were questions that filled the entire time. People had lots of questions. It's all in Spanish, translated where necessary, and really a wonderful outreach of reaching out to a community that often gets overlooked because the language is a barrier, or they're unable to come to meetings. And there were activities for children, and there was food, and it was in a school, and it was really a credit to the team who put it together, and it was really wonderful to be able to attend and be a part of it. So yes, and one more.
Thank you,
Councilor
Mayor.
Gross.
I was prompted to speak up after all. First of all, I do want to commend you for the 4 proclamations. I think it's important that we recognize all 4 of those subjects with emphasis on the mental health piece. I also want to thank Councilor Zelenka for bringing up fallen firefighters. That's something that's near and dear to my heart. And it's not just the firefighters that die in the line of duty. There isn't a month that goes by I'm not attending a firefighter funeral that somebody I worked with over the years that's passed away from cancer, which is a occupational health and safety significant issue for the fire service industry from all the exposures that you get as a firefighter. And people that serve this community for many years are dying sometimes 2 and 3 in a month, with their lives being cut short. So I want to recognize them as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that reminder. Okay, with that, I think we are ready to move on to our first action item, which is the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mayor. So take a sip.
Mhm.
I move to approve the items on consent calendar 1.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that passes. Thank you very much. And now we are ready for the public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the city council on any city-related issues except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official. And there's the list. So you can now look at the list and see who's there. And I guess I will just turn it over to staff to announce the first speakers.
If you have signed up to speak via Zoom, please take this time to ensure that your screen name in Zoom matches the first and last name you used to sign up to speak. If your screen name does not match, we cannot promote you to a panelist to speak when it is your turn. I will announce 2 speakers' names at a time. If you are providing testimony via Zoom, when it is your turn, we will announce your name and promote you to panelist status, and you can unmute and turn on your camera if you wish. If you are announced as the next speaker and physically in the room, please move to the seat in the front row designated for the next speaker. When it is your turn, you may come to the podium. When you are called to speak, please state your name clearly, and for Eugene residents, your ward or neighborhood if known before beginning your comments. You will have 2.5 minutes to speak. If you are watching the meeting, the timer should be visible. A yellow light will come on when you have 15 seconds to complete your comments. The red light indicates the end of the 2.5 minutes. For those who have connected to the meeting via phone, and don't have the benefit of seeing the timer, please be aware that your microphone will be muted at the 2.5 minute mark. Please note that screen sharing or displaying information on the screen is not allowed, and any misuse of the platform or a violation of the council's code of conduct will result in immediate termination of speaking privilege. If you have documents to give council, please place them in the council inbox basket near the podium. Our first speaker this evening is Vanessa Ringgold, followed by Diane Bolt-Silverman.
Good evening. My name is Vanessa Ringgold. I am in Ward 6. I'm here to speak on behalf of restoring the Animal Welfare Services budget. And frankly, it needs to be increased by 3 or 4 times to even begin to hit or really big an impact on the problems that the animals in this community are facing. I work primarily in something called Trap Neuter Return, where unowned feral community cats are trapped, are fixed, and returned back to their homes. I think I want to speak about a day that I had experienced at Green Hill that I think really highlights why these services are so important. So I was there. I had rescued 8 kittens from one of my colonies, and I was at Green Hill. They had been accepted as a foster, and Green Hill had was helping me help them overcome a ringworm, which is a fungal infection. So I was there for one of their appointments. In that maybe hour, the people at Green Hill were anticipating 5 cats coming in from an Animal Welfare Services. I don't know the circumstances of it, but they were put on alert that these cats were coming in. And as I was waiting, a community service officer came with someone whose house had apartment had just burned down. And she had saved one of her cats and needed a place to keep it while she was finding emergency housing. And as I arrived, a gentleman was being given a cat carrier and apologizing for what appeared to be very rude behavior because he was so desperate to have this cat looked at and treated. And this was the only place he knew to come to. And finally, a welfare animals officer came with 3 neonatal kittens, probably a week or 2 old. And the people at Green Hill were going to try their very best to save those animals. Very likely those kittens will die. Just statistically, the kittens that young don't do well without their moms. But every day, these people are doing their absolute best to help the animals in this community. And I think that they deserve our help because the rescuers are exhausted. The budget is expecting people like us to go and continue to self-fund because it's a passion, because we believe so deeply in the humane treatment of the animals in our community. And we're exhausted. We can't do it anymore. And so we are hoping that this community will step up and help fix this. And the first start is by helping to restore the budget for the Animal Welfare Services. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Next, we will hear from Diane Bolt Silverman, followed by Joshua Korn.
Oh, hi. I do live in Eugene, and I'm on the board of Stop Pet Overpopulation Today, which is a small local nonprofit that helps fund dog spay neuter surgeries for low and no income people. I also started volunteering with dogs at Lane County Animal Services in 2008 and have continued to do that, and currently volunteer with the same at Green Hill. And I believe that both aspects of the city's plan to remove one animal control officer position in Eugene and to cut funding to Green Hill are short-sighted, inhumane, and adversely affect public safety in addition to other issues. It is the city's responsibility to provide animal welfare services to our city, and it is not the responsibility of nonprofits that are already overwhelmed and working on shoestring budgets to do so, or for the general public to try to deal with sometimes dangerous situations. Cutting the number of animal welfare officers in half to reduce coverage to 4 days per week simply doesn't work. What is going to happen when an animal is in need? When a resident is trying to help it and doesn't know what they're doing and gets bitten? When someone rescues a cat, rabbit, dog, ferret, bird, and no one in the city is available to help? We can't expect the police, who are not properly trained and who are handling their own work, to do so. So what options will there be with no animal welfare officer for half the week? And cutting funds to Green Hill, the only shelter in our area that can handle all types of abandoned animals, will also have a major negative impact on our community. If you cut funds, again, what will happen to stray cats, rabbits, ducks, chickens, goats, and all the other species that are found by residents? I mean, is the plan to just let them run loose and allow them to multiply and become pests? Are they going to be killed? Are they going to be allowed to starve, hit by cars, anything? Green Hill has the facility and currently the staff and the expertise to care for all of these species. And again, is really the only option for stray and abandoned animals in our community. The plan to cut the one position, the animal welfare control position, and severely cut funding for Green Hills simply doesn't work and negatively impact.
Thank you, Diane. Your time is concluded. Next, we will hear from Joshua Korn, followed by Stefan Streck.
In the past, I've explained some stuff about captured agencies in the context of the FCC and 5G. And today I want to bring some awareness of other captured agencies and how endemic this is in our society right now, and especially in this country. The FDA, CDC, Pfizer, all involved in this. I'm going to submit this document, which is called the Pregnancy and Lactation Cumulative Review on the Pfizer BioNTech so-called vaccine. This was shared by Dr. Naomi Wolf from dailyclout.io, which is marked on here, so anyone can reference that to link to download the original document. Bottom line is that Pfizer basically owns the media. This stuff is still not covered in the media. And the FDA covered it up. This is an FDA document that came out in a document dump they tried to cover it up for over 75 years, but they were sued over that. And that's why these documents are being dumped. And there's like over 1 million documents. And fortunately, Dr. Naomi Wolf is coordinating with thousands of medical professionals to review all these documents. And this is one of those that came out of that. In this, it documents 673 case reports, including adverse events and serious adverse events. The media will still tell you that these products are safe for pregnant and lactating women. But in here, this document is from mid 2021, and there were 673 case reports, 458 exposed during pregnancy and 215 in breastfeeding. I'm just going to highlight a couple of them. The patient's mother received the vaccination during the second trimester and experienced premature labor. A live infant was delivered but passed away a day later. Cause of death was cited.
Thank you, Joshua. Your time has concluded. Next, we will hear from Stefan Streck, followed by Geraldine Van Pikeren.
Excellent. Good, everybody, and good evening. My name is Stefan Streck, and I am so pleased to be here. And thank you for the various acknowledgements. That's significant, all significant. Thank you so much. I am so happy to see so many improvements and conscious effort towards cleaning up the city. I was just remembering earlier how the building that we're operating out of wasn't too long ago. This was just a big empty pit full of stuff. And it took a lot just to get to having this facility for the local community college and everyone to use. We've got a great small business office, and I really feel that it is super easy to think of things negatively, and I sympathize with the mentions of negativity come election season. I really feel good and take a break for a second in that respect. But it really, really does matter to enjoy what you do and love what you do. And I would invite everybody on the council to think about what first got you into politics and being willing to take all the time on these evenings to sit in these chairs and keep doing your best. And I think we can have more success stories like turning what was once an empty pit into one of the more adaptable buildings downtown. In recognition, really would like to say again, we've all been a little isolated for too long, and it's too easy to forget and push back the difficult times. It's thinking about the difficult times that helps us push through the future. So thank you so much and good evening. Once again, Stefan Streck, thank you, City Council. Yep.
Thank you, Stefan. Next, we'll hear from Geraldine Van Pikeren, followed by Amanda Ligon.
I'm Geraldine Van Pikeren, and I am here to talk about the reimagining of the homelessness and the community around that. I know we've made a lot of great strides and with nonprofit organizations, especially the community supported safe spots. And there's one area that's a big missing link that I see, especially when you drive along the railroad area and you see all the tents and all the garbage. I also pick up after them over by the river, and they don't have running water. They don't have a garbage big bin to put their stuff in. They don't have the potty toilets out there. And there's a big grassy area along with, there's two places, one on Van Buren and one on First Street, empty lots that are for sale that would be easy for the city to buy and put some simple, not the same as the community supported shelters with the Conestoga huts, but tents. Some of them just come in and they just need a place to land with water, garbage, and those potty toilets. It's very simple, and I don't think it would cost a lot of money. Also, if you followed the blueprint of the community supported shelters, you'll see that they even use the homeless who are capable to the fenced in projects that they have going on. The ones who are capable, they actually oversee and are able to do some of the work as well and feel part of the community. Let's see, anything else on that? I would love to be a part of the Reimagining Homeless Community group or whatever you have. And so if anybody could contact me after I left my email, I would love to be a part of that. Yeah, I think that's about it. Let me just look here. Yeah. That's it. So it basically, just in a couple words, they would be community supported, safe tent camping areas. And there's plenty of land on First Van Buren to be used for that. Thank you.
People to please give your name and your ward if known.
Ward 7.
Thank you so much. And I forgot that with Joshua too. So.
Thank you, Geraldine. Geraldine was our 5th speaker. Next, we will hear from Amanda Ligon, followed by Jason Bowman.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Ligon. I live in Ward 4, and I'm here as a love letter to our libraries. I've been going to the Eugene Public Libraries now for over 20 years, and I must tell you my love for that space is woven into every molecule of my body. This is where Octavia Butler taught me to dream of other worlds, where I learned how to accept myself as a queer person through James Baldwin, where I've spent so much of my life pouring through graphic novels under the light of those glorious windows. As someone who works with kids, I've brought countless kiddos there to discover their passions, grow a love of learning, and connect with other kiddos. I've personally witnessed the incredible growth that can happen when a community, especially its young people, have access to a thriving library. The library plays an essential role in our community that goes well beyond books. Not only do they give people access the people of all ages access to free education. They also increase equity in Eugene by running public literacy programs, offering public meeting spaces, providing protection from the heat and cold, and working with Eugene Mission to teach computer literacy skills. And instead of looking at all they do for the community and offering more funding, we are instead threatening to take away $4 million from their budget over the next 2 years. It's important to note that the library is one of few entities that does not have other sources of funding. They rely almost entirely on this budget. And if we cut this, it will take away from early literacy programs across Eugene. We cannot afford to wait to see the devastating long-term effects before we take action. Let's take a good hard look at what's happening in this country. You just made a proclamation in support of LGBTQ communities, and supporting the library is your chance to put your money where your mouth is. Multiple states are threatening to shut libraries down in an effort to silence mostly BIPOC and LGBTQ voices. During the first half of this school year, there were 1,477 instances of books that were banned. For context, Nazi Germany banned a total of 5,485 books before the end of the war. Learning from our past would teach us it is imperative to protect libraries and other forms of public education at all costs. Speaking of Nazi Germany, just last month there was someone on Fox Hollow flying a Nazi flag on their front yard. If you think we're in any position to limit access to public education, I invite you to drive with me down that road and ask yourself again. We're watching our school systems crumble with the mass exodus of teachers, lack of funding, and lack of compassionate care towards our students. There's no public institution that greater embodies freedom than the public library, which promises a free education to all, no matter.
Thank you, Amanda. Your time has concluded. Next, we will hear from Jason Bowman, followed by Linda Wallace. As a note, Linda, I don't see your name in Zoom, so please change your screen name.
Good evening. Dear Mayor, City Manager, and City Council, I come before you asking, are we the victims or the crime? My name is Jason Bowman, Ward 1. I've been residing in Eugene since January 2023. I've lived without a physical home until yesterday. During the last 5 months, connecting to resources that work have been an almost unsurmountable challenge with a myriad of barriers. I have observed several different notices regarding scheduling of quote unquote cleanup pertaining to the tent I have been provided by a local resource center for my residents. No direction was offered as to where to place my home or the rules regarding such. That being said, locating a compliant, safe location has proven to be very confusing. I'm a disabled person with a complex spinal injuries as well as head trauma. On occasion, I seek rest and sanctuary in parks to stretch out my spine and soak up some sunshine and positive vibes. While in the parks, I have the opportunity to do some observations. I observed a 2-hour notice being left under a tent on a loose piece of paper, unsecured and unprotected. The park person came back early the next morning and threatened the occupants with law enforcement. One resident of the home informed the parks person that they were disabled and awaiting spinal fusion. That enforcer told them to call Cahoots. He indicated that they may even do spinal fusions. Amazing. The other resident of that home tried to speak to the enforcer, but due to slow speech from a traumatic brain injury, they were unable to find their words, and the parks person refused to even speak to them. Another observation, a tent appeared to be seeking refuge for 10 days outside of the federal court building. On the 10th day, a notice of cleanup was posted along with a work order number. A cleanup date of only 24 hours on the notice. On that same notice, it states cleanup would occur after 72 hours, but not more than 10 days. Confusing. No instruction as to where to relocate the provided home.
Thank you, Jason. Your time is concluded. I do not see Linda Wallace in Zoom, so next we will hear from Wayne Martin, followed by Rich Locke.
Madam Mayor, Council, Madam City Manager. This is my third time before you in the last 3 months. I wanted to let you know that I think homelessness has become a pandemic here in Eugene. It has all the earmarks, the symptoms of a pandemic. It's spreading, as you know, throughout the country. It could get much, much worse. I'm here to plead with you. I serve a breakfast and a bag lunch 4 days of work a week with colleagues of mine. During that time, my primary role is to talk to our guests who are there for the meal. And I have, in the last 4 weeks, heard from 3 whose sleep has been interrupted at 2 or 3 in the morning by police, giving them 15 minutes to pick up their stuff. I can verify this from the people who have reported it. That is stunningly mean-spirited and terribly draconian. It's one thing to talk about how we do or don't criminalize homelessness, but criminalization here has led to brutality. And it now appears to be more of a war against those who have no way to defend themselves or shelter themselves other than with a tent. There's a real effort going on the part of parks and police to trouble the people who have nowhere else to be and to ask them to leave with little or no notice. I urge you, I plead with you, become advocates for the ones who are now being mistreated. Become their advocates, as I urge you to become advocates of those who are experiencing gender inequality. Do that for them.
Thank you, Wayne. Your time is concluded. Next, we will hear from our 10th speaker, Rich Locke, followed by Joan Medina.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. First, I listened into the work session earlier, and I think you guys are opening up a can of worms there. As a business person, you know, and being that salaries are so visible inside that, I think you're playing up to a person that not necessarily is deserving of that much salary. I caught just a can she possibly be getting close to Chief Skinner and salary compensation? Wow. Come on. And I heard Jennifer Ye over there throwing in the feminist card on it. I'd like to back up what Wayne and this lady had talked about the unsheltered. I've been coming to you folks for a long time about the folks that are unsheltered. These people don't get to fit into the managed services that you all prop up. They need shelter, basic shelter, a place to stay, to put their tent. Why can't we do that? I've been in here on a night, freezing cold outside, snowing and stuff, and the only person that really talks about sheltering the homeless that are sitting out there and that is Emily Semple. Now, why can't we just work with the county here? Get on your high horse, work with the county here and find these folks a place to stay. Put their tent. We don't have to have a furnished apartment for every person out here on the street. Maybe you ought to open that big parking lot that you tore down the old city hall in and let them stay there somewhere. They've been asking for every council meeting I come to, they ask, give us a place to stay. Point us to that place and we'll go there willingly. and clean up the garbage on the railroad tracks. Every entrance point of Eugene is a rat hole. Every person that comes to Eugene from the airport, what do they see? Garbage everywhere when it comes into Eugene at the Y. You can do a better job.
Thank you, Rich. Next, we will hear from Joan Medina, followed by Emily Vota.
Good evening. My name's Joan Medina and I live in Ward 2. I made some letters for you too, so I put them in your box. Dear Mayor and City Council members, getting outdoors and appreciating nature is one of the many benefits of living in Eugene. My husband and I recently retired and decided to move here so that we could enjoy Eugene's natural beauty. We love walking to the stores and to the parks. As we were walking and exploring the area, we noticed how many sidewalks are in disrepair and include tripping hazards. Other places are inaccessible because of overhanging branches, parked cars, thorny bushes, and overgrown hedges. We have seen wheelchair users traveling on the street because the sidewalks are inaccessible. This is a concern for people with mobility disabilities, people who are blind, and the elderly. Accessing our communities is an important human right, and creating accessible and inclusive spaces is a social responsibility. For the past few years, cities across the world have celebrated Make Way Day on September the 30th. This day began in Ireland to raise awareness about the needs of people with disabilities in public spaces. Communities come together to make the sidewalks in front of their homes accessible by trimming overhanging branches and vegetation and by repairing cracks and tripping hazards. We propose celebrating Make Way Day here in Eugene. It could be an impactful, community building, and decisive day of action to improve access for everyone. The city of Eugene is a beautiful place to live and thrive. Let's start our own Make Way Day on September 30th and make Eugene accessible for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joan. Next, we will hear from Emily Vota, followed by Tara Nagelhoot.
Hi, my name is Emily Vota, and I'm from Ward 8. The proposed 42% animal welfare cut and 57% cut to Green Hill is a very bad idea. Green Hill saves approximately 3,000 animals a year, and your proposed cuts will reduce that by 700. These spots are used for trap and release spay and neuter programs, approximately 500 last year, which helped control the feral cat population. This program is a key tool in helping protect our birds, but I'll come back to that. Those 700 shelter spots will be used to hold lost animals until owners can be found, rescue stray and injured animals, and provide emergency boarding for crisis situations, for example, domestic violence situations and medical emergencies. Your proposed cuts will also eliminate one animal welfare officer, which will leave 2 officers for a city of about 171,000 people and 40,000 dogs. Losing that staff will require police untrained in animal rescue to pick up the slack. The practical effects of having poor animal welfare in a city can result in short-term and long-term irreversible damage to the environment and the economy. These are issues that will be more expensive to deal with, and our voters will notice. Stray animals breed unchecked. Cats can give birth to approximately 180 kittens in their lifetime. Stray and feral cats are doing damage to our bird population. Birds help control insect pests, protecting our trees and our crops. They also provide seed dispersal. According to the Indiana University Purdue, 92% of woody tree species are dispersed by birds. This includes timber, edible, and medicinal plants. They are also responsible for pollinating 3 to 5% of some 1,500 economically important crops and medicinal plants. We need our birds, and to keep them safe, we need to control the feral and stray cat population, not increase it through budget cuts. That is long-lasting, irreversible damage. We have an estimated 40,000 stray or feral cats in Eugene. Large stray populations also spread diseases that can be spread to our pets and also to us. Some diseases that we can catch from animals are rabies, roundworm, scabies, ringworm, toxoplasmosis, and leprosos. I can't pronounce that one. That's a lot of information, but in practical terms, it means that the 60% of voters that have animals will experience more animal attacks, more disease.
Thank you, Emily. Your time is concluded. Next, we will hear from Tara Nagelhout, followed by Misha English.
Tara Nagelhout, South River Road area. I'm the owner of Emerald Valley Real Estate, Hometown Pets, and Pet Time, as well as board member of Tara's Tabbies and Tribulations, as well as Feline Good Animal Rescue. It is those latter two that bring me here to speak to you today. Way back in 1977, my mother took me trick-or-treating. To her horror, when the people opened the door, this little girl dropped her bucket. She bolted at the house, screamed kitty, and sat on the floor and started petting. Here we are 46 years later, and I'm still doing the exact same thing. Show me a cat, and I'm going to drop what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go do that. This morning, I started out my day in the basement with my favorite cat, Laura. She's my soulmate. A few hours later, the next cat that was available for me to touch was a dead 4-week-old kitten, and that was super fun. 3 hours later, it was 3 little feral kittens born in some random, whatever shed that somebody had me come get. That's what we do every day, and I do nothing compared to some of the ladies sitting behind me. I used to, but I'm tired. Right now, there are more cats in my care that I can even count. I'm guessing I have about 50 or so. They are in various foster homes, my home cattery, and in my stores waiting adoption. The state has put additional burdens on rescues by requiring us to register, have our homes and our paperwork inspected, and pay them money for the only purpose of supporting their program. You've made the requirements to receive funding for rescue so completely challenging that the only entity capable of handling that is Green Hill. The community has an idea that Green Hill takes basically any cat that is brought in and that they are a no-kill shelter. If only the public knew the truth. They don't, and they aren't. But at this moment, they're the only option our community has because of the requirements that you have put on that. Almost out. If you choose to go ahead and cut this budget, you'll be sentencing even more cats to death. Did you know private rescues have to hold an animal for 90 days and Green Hill has to only hold for 3 to 5, depending on the circumstances? We're already at a disadvantage. My husband and I have fixed over 700 cats over the last 700 years, 90% of which was done with our own money. I believe it should be a requirement for each one of you to spend 12 hours with any one of us people here that are in private rescue and go through the daily roller coaster of hell that we have to do before you should be allowed to vote on this. Because you do not know what we're doing. You have a group of incredibly passionate and dedicated people who are willing to step up and do what needs to be done to help these cats, but we need you to provide the stairs for us to step up on.
Thank you, Tara. Next, we will hear from Misha English, followed by our 15th speaker, Eric Jackson.
Good evening. My name is Misha English. I live at 86211 Bailey Hill Road in Eugene, which is unincorporated Lane County. However, I am the president of Willamette Animal Guild WAG. We are a low-cost, high-volume, high-quality spay-neuter clinic that serves Eugene as well as all of Lane County, and we are coming up on our 75,000th spay-neuter service this year. I'm here to address the proposed budget for animal services on behalf of our organization and many other animal partners that are sitting behind me here in the community. Over a decade ago, Eugene, my understanding, budgeted nearly $1 million a year for animal care. Currently, the animal budget for Eugene is less than $500,000. And now the recent budget proposal would slash that amount to just over $200,000, taking animal control down to 4 days a week and taking away from its citizenry a safe place to bring stray cats. While it's true that some city sectors are going to be experiencing a 10% cut, it's proposed that animal services eat 56%. Why the massive disparity? And why the wholesale elimination of stray cat funding? City of Springfield residents will still be able to bring stray cats into Green Hill. Same with folks in unincorporated Lane County, but not citizens of Eugene. Why? Is it because the city of Eugene believes there isn't a cat problem? If so, there are nearly 100 individuals and organizations doing feral cat work, trap, neuter, release in Eugene that would tell you differently. We all work tirelessly and without government funding addressing cat overpopulation in Eugene. And we are very concerned about the trickle-down effect that this new contract would have on cats in our work. Green Hill currently takes in roughly 575 stray cats per year from Eugene under the current contract. If these cats have nowhere to go, they will stay on the streets and eventually breed feral cats. The problem of feral overpopulation is the negative repercussions of defunding the fight are swift and exponential. Those 575 cats that Green Hill can no longer take in from the public will turn into 100,000 cats in just 3 years in Eugene, even if half of them perish due to disease, the elements, or predators. Eugene should not take itself out of the fight against overpopulation of cats. Let's keep Eugene compassionate. If everybody would stand that agrees with this statement.
Thank you, Misha. Your time has concluded. Next, we will hear from Eric Jackson, followed by Sammy Rothage.
Okay.
I hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Eric Jackson, Ward 7 currently. No video not capable. Sorry about the guy yelling in the background. Green Hill, you have to. Am I
I'm
hearing?
sorry, Eric.
Hearing me? Are you hearing me?
There's profanity in the background.
There's
Eric.
a guy. There's a guy riding a bicycle across the street. Yeah.
How about I mute you and have someone else go, and then you go after that person?
Yeah, he's almost gone. Yeah, that would work.
Okay, great. We'll be right back. All right, Sammy, you are up.
Hello, Mayor, managers. Hello, Mayor, City Manager, and Council. My name is Sammy Elijah Nessel Rothage, and I have been a resident in Eugene for 50 years. I'm here to strengthen the voice of Reverend Martin in this horrific epidemic of abuse of authority to the displaced, disabled on the streets, parks, alleys of Eugene. Where's the map of the safe place to be? Inside the bag of disposal? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sammy. Eric, we're ready for you if you're ready.
I'm ready. And did we get to start the video? Yeah, the gentleman turned the corner at Roosevelt. Hi, Eric Jackson, Ward 7, standing down at the Garfield Police Evidence location, which is right next door to where the homeless pick up their property from 9 to 2:30. If you get out of jail at 3:30, it makes it very difficult if you were homeless getting picked up and you were being picked up for, say, blocking the sidewalk with a piece of plastic, as I was. The reasonableness of reasonable accommodations to get somebody back their life-saving property has got to be better. Additionally, the officers that currently handle, and I did my best to make sure that none of my protest signs are showing. So if I show you my tent, you don't have to stop it because the protest signs are covered by my Mickey Mouse bag. If an officer is telling the city to, in fact, Public Works via a police officer saying, close this area for cleaning, and there's not a stitch of anything on the ground, except a couple of sundries that were delivered by a donor very nicely. And they were sitting outside, and the officer says, you are going to get a ticket for offensive littering, which when I first heard it about 6 months ago, I was like, what do you mean? And I looked it up, and I looked up the code, and I looked where it was dropped into the code in July of 2021. And it was more for properties. And when you have a couple of officers, and I just mean a couple of officers, like the handful that calls themselves a homeless criminalization team in the back door, but they call themselves the housing support team on paper. Makes no sense. You have to stop, like Wayne said, you have to put compassion first. You have to put objectivity first. And you can't have that when you have officers that are so tainted doing the same job. When did Eugene And I say this with such solace. When did Eugene become a place where the First Amendment doesn't matter for homeless? I understand the Eighth Amendment. They gave that up when Boise came out and said, okay, they say it's the Eighth Amendment, but we won't do it. Now, First Amendment, that's not fair.
Thank you, Eric. Your time is king. Next, we will hear from our final speaker, Carrie Lieberman.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time, especially this evening. I want to thank everyone for being bold and courageous as well. This is not easy, I know. I'm Carrie Lieberman from Ward 2. For over 4 decades, Eugene has had a comprehensive animal welfare program in place, ensuring the safety and well-being of both our beloved pets and ourselves. However, as you heard, the future of this program is at risk due to the proposed budget cuts. These proposed cuts to end the animal welfare program are disproportionate to any other city program that's being considered. The draft budget includes, here's the actual statistics, 42% overall cut to the program, 57% cut to the contract with Greenhill for animal sheltering. This will result in the elimination of 1 animal welfare officer, as stated in the budget, and a reduction in field coverage from 7 days to 4, or 7 days a week to 4. It will also leave over 700 City of Eugene animals without safe shelter annually. That's roughly 57% of what we would annually see. The impact of these cuts on our community would be devastating. Without proper shelter, hundreds of stray dogs and cats will roam our streets, causing danger to themselves and others. Many of these animals will be hit by cars. Some may even attack other animals or people. This is unacceptable. The city's initial partnership with Greenhill Humane Society in 2012 was successful in achieving cost savings, and the investment has been further leveraged by the generosity of volunteers and donors. The public-private partnership has enabled the city's annual financial investment to go 3 to 4 times further than if the city attempted to do it themselves. Animal services are a public safety concern, and as such should come in part from public dollars. The public expects these services in our community and expects that the services are paid for through the tax dollars and fees they already pay. It is not acceptable to cut the city's funding to this program, to disregard the investment being made by donors and volunteers just to fund other priorities. If the proposed funding cuts are passed, it will diminish the health and safety of both animals and humans in our community. And it'll break the trust with a community of philanthropists, volunteers, community members, and other nonprofit organizations. I urge you to address this concern at the upcoming budget meeting this Wednesday. Please reverse the proposed.
Thank you, Carrie. Your time is concluded. Mayor, that was our final speaker. As a note, Linda Wallace did not appear in Zoom.
Hey, thank you very much for managing that queue. And thank you to all of you for taking the time to come here and to go or to Zoom in to speak online. We appreciate hearing from all of you. Are there counselors with comments? Counselor Keating.
Thanks, Mayor. Just picking up where Ward 2 resident Carrie Lieberman left off. There was a budget committee meeting on May 10th at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom. Details at eugene-or.gov. I echo the sentiment regarding the bold and the courageous testimony. Ward 2 resident Joan Medina, thank you for your testimony as well. I appreciate the observation that we need a make way day. I sense there's some consternation and heartburn out there. I've seen it in my neighborhood of vegetation overgrowth and also e-scooters blocking access. And so from a mobility justice standpoint, I enthusiastically champion the Make Way Day concept. And I do want to invite you to the Southeast Neighbors meeting tomorrow night. It's SEN's election night. But the Southeast Neighbors have started a sidewalk vegetation cleanup effort. You can get more details at southeastneighbors.org. The last couple sidewalk vegetation cleanup efforts were rained out. Not shocking, we live in Eugene, but we could use your energy and enthusiasm to help resurrect that neighborhood association program. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other counselors with comments? Okay, seeing none, thank you all very much. And I think that's our last item of business today. So we are adjourned.